It is, in fact, for the love of words.
For the love of words.
Which means in October,
Uh-huh.
it's
No.
1 month before,
Oh.
the next month is the anniversary.
That's right.
We started in November. And I was remembering tonight that we used to bring a drum kit up on stage, a snare and a hi-hat,
Yeah.
and bells and wrangles, and you would
Clangers.
play guitar and all that, and it was kind of like beat poetry.
I was way more talented when I was younger.
You were.
Who knows what happened? I don't know.
No, that was just a style, a
Oh,
trend
right.
that you were going through.
Calcification of the mind. I don't know.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
But it was definitely, we were attempting to follow in a style that we perceived to be from New York.
Right, I think so.
And that beat thing. Like our perception of what beat would be
right.
only in Duncan.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? We beat it to death.
We beat it. Beat it. No.
Yeah, that's a weird, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard watching the news today.
Oh,
Or any day these days.
I-
Everybody's like, whoa, the thoughts in your mind are slowly becoming,
Really?
yeah.
That's probably why I don't watch it. Sorry. I don't handle the news well. What's going on? Tell me.
Oh, no, just
Oh, remain oblivious.
people being outed, people doing this, and all these sexual innuendos and problems with people who have done things in the past and
that bullshit.
and all that. Yeah, like it's getting
I mean, not
it's
bullshit.
getting out there crazy. And then there's number 45.
Is he the 45th president?
Yeah,
Wow.
the whole world's gonna shape differently in the next week or so.
Oh, is it? Are they going to impeach him?
Well, we don't know yet, but it sure does look like hell's hitting the fire.
Mm,
I mean, I don't know how anyone's going to talk themselves out of this one. It's definitely the decline,
yeah.
the fall of the American empire.
They said it was coming. It's been coming for a long time.
Yeah, but that's okay. Superman, Trudeau, that was his costume this year. He went as Clark Kent.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, not going to work. Anyway, that's why I'm dressed up. You see, as the average Canadian voter, undecided.
Nice. Perfect.
Who would you vote for?
Ooh.
Now it turns out, the best part is that the Conservatives have been sitting there yelling and screaming at the Liberals for all these money things that are going on, like behind the scenes and all that. And it turns out that the guy who's in charge of the Conservative Party now has also got tax loopholes as well.
Oh.
Oh, but they're all legal.
Right, of course.
But there's tax loopholes for the rich.
Yeah, right. They love those.
So they're sort of, anyway. It's fun to see that what's going on and that it's all falling apart. I like that part because then we can pick up the pieces maybe if there's any. If they allow us to pick up pieces.
I hope so.
What pieces did you bring tonight?
I bought one of my favorites, Mr. John B. Lee, who I returned to, and Al Purdy, of course. One of my favorites, Mr. Purdy.
Well, why don't you get on with it then?
Well, I could get on with it.
Okay,
Yes.
Bill Everett, for the love of words, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. 9.9999. Yes, your last chance to be 9 years old in this world flow. Next month will be 10. There'll be no turning back. Or, as John would say, my 9th first birthday, or something. Yeah, that's what you do. I'll play this one. I'll read this one because I got loaned a. No, that's too long. How about this one? Nope, that's too long. I don't have the energy really. The Country of the Young, Al Purdy. A.Y. Jackson, for instance, 83 years old, halfway up a mountain, standing in a patch of snow to paint a picture that says, "Look here, you've never seen this country. It's not the way you thought it was. Look again." And boozy traders lost in a dream of money, crews of homesick seamen moored to a China vision hunting the Northwest Passage. They didn't see it either. The colors, I mean. For they're not bright Gauguin or blazing Vincent or even Bruegel's Hunters in the Snow, where you can get lost and found in 5 minutes. But the original color matrix that after a giant's heartbeat lighted the maple forests in the country south. You have to stoop a little, bend over, and then look up. Dull orange on a cliff face that says iron deposits. Olive leaves of the ground willow with gray silver catkins, minute wildflower beacons, sea blue as the world's eye. And you can't be looking for something else, money or a night's lodging on earth, a stepping stone to death maybe, or you'll never find the place. Hear an old man's voice in the country of the young that says, look here. That's Al. And this fellow, Mr. John B. Lee, my favorites. Whereas, sorry, I just wanted to say ass. I don't know. Sorry. God. It's because Norm's here. I want him to know that occasionally we cuss. Where apple blossoms might lie in midnight grass. Where apple blossoms might lie in midnight grass, we too would lie while I touch your sex, closed like a cut flower between the soft, cruel curves of your flesh, and as it were eased open like a tea-wet mouth when Hollywood women whispered smoke and a quiet pool might read every book of the moon. I steal from God where pleasure moves in notes like the gentle resonance of piano wood. It's another piano one. Oh, here's one. You'll appreciate this one. It's called The Pornography of Toes. Some people have real, I think it goes all the way from foot fetishism to foot fear. And, you know, I've met people that can't stand to look at the feet of others, or their own feet for that matter. Some unnamed trauma. The Pornography of Toes. My toes are the accusing bruise blue of mulberry thieves, looming erotic and naked from a plaster cast like snakes from snow. And when I tramp as a cat shakes his cold foot, I must consider the obscene writhing of these nether metatarsals. Watch as strangers look down to regard the squirm and wriggle of their risible passage. Almost say, be still, my beating toes, discolored like the filthy feet of farm hands, however much I bathe. But I must dance this broken leg around as if I would make corrections to the questionable anatomy of a doll beneath its trousers. 4 of them as stiff as the unruly and unwilled tumescence of little boys, and 1 thug designed to keep the balance, thrusting forward, Anglo-Saxon with desire. And if you've ever been an Anglo-Saxon, you would understand that phrase. How much desire is buried. Let's put John up first, because he's never that early, are you, John? We'll just throw you right in there. How about that? Are you ready?
Are you talking to me?
Hey, that's a De Niro line, isn't it? You talking to me? Well, I think Long John said his piece, so you're on, fella.
Hard act to follow. Real literature, poetry. I almost feel embarrassed to read my own crap.
I don't think we allow disclaimers.
No disclaimers? Oh, damn. Well, it's Halloween, and I thought I've been writing what I think might be a book, but who knows? Keep writing all these different parts, trying to figure out how it's all going to go together. So in the course of my perusals of my life, I realized I had been nearly killed 6 times. So I wrote out each incident, so hopefully I chose the short one. Or I might have a 7th. Bill might get upset and try to kill me, is what I'm saying. Okay, hurry up, John. This was Brush with Death number 3 on the Bay of Quinte. Another brush. The ice had been off Lake Ontario for a month or so. Me and 3 buddies took my car and 2 canoes out to the Bay of Quinte for an afternoon of paddling near Belleville. We launched on the south shore and decided to follow the bay east and then around the north shore. It was a beautiful sunny day with a slight breeze. The water was like ice, though, as there had been no real warm weather yet. The journey around the bay was uneventful, but took more time than we had thought. When we got to the mouth, we could see out into the lake, and there was an approaching squall way out there. We decided that instead of retracing our shore-hugging route out, we would chance a quick crossing at the mouth where we could keep an eye on the weather. Bracken, who was in the front, had never been in a canoe before. I suggested we take our boots off and any heavy clothing in case we turned over. I should have stuck my hand in the water more than a few seconds. The canoe we had was fiberglass with low-slung gunnels. It was my old man's. He used it to fish from on small lakes. It was a clunker. The 2 other guys had a cedar strip canoe with high gunnel line. It was Bradley's father's. He had about as much experience as I had in a canoe. His front seat man, Hooley, not so much. We struck out quick, but before long Bradley and Hooley were well ahead of us. The squall came quicker than we could have imagined. The wind had picked up considerably, and with that the waves. They quickly became about 2.5 feet high, and before I knew it, they started breaking over the gunnels. We were taking on water. I turned the canoe back to the north shore, and soon we were running with the waves. This didn't really help, as the water we had taken on had weighed the boat down more, and now each passing wave broke over a little the side of the gunnels. I tried desperately to hold the canoe steady and yelled at Bracken to use his boot as a bailing can. We had nothing else. He tried it, but with the waves getting bigger and more water coming in and sloshing around, I couldn't hold it. A big wave passed underneath us and just cascaded over the sides. The canoe went down and flipped to the side. We got pitched into the water. I screamed as I went in. It was such a shock. It was so cold. It just took the wind right out of you. I told Bracken to pull himself up and out of the water onto the overturned canoe, and I did the same. I was still hanging onto my paddle. I looked out towards the other canoe and could only see them about 100 yards ahead when they would bob up on a wave. I started yelling and waving the paddle, trying to get their attention. I saw Bradley look back and wave his paddle, and then they started to turn around and head our way. I turned my attention to where we were and told Bracken we should stick with the canoe and start kicking and head towards the shore. Even though our chests were sort of out of the water, it was bitterly cold. I could see the wind blowing the trees and the grass in the sunlight on the shore. It was tantalizingly close, yet too far. I began to get this kind of dreamy feeling, and everything went into a lazy, slow motion. It was very surreal. I looked at Bracken, and I could tell he was in trouble, but I didn't know why. I asked him, "Do you think we're dying?" It all felt so weird. At that point, the other canoe came up behind us. We had been in the water for 10 or 15 minutes by then. Bradley said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to get the fuck out of this freezing water." They came up alongside us and in those high waves and steadied the boat as best they could. I had climbed into canoes like this lots of times as we used to capsize them on purpose for fun, but this was a lot different. I was freezing. They had to hold the canoe steady in the waves while I clambered in without overturning them. I did it and tumbled into the bottom. They maneuvered over to Bracken, but by this time he was nearly spent. He couldn't move his arms and legs, so we had a fast powwow as how to handle this, and I reached over the side and grabbed him, and amongst the 4 of us we managed to get him in. He just fell into the bottom of the canoe and curled up and didn't move. We grabbed the bow rope of the overturned canoe and tied it to the stern of the cedar strip. I still had my paddle, and the three of us dug in and headed towards the far shore. The waves were still high, but the squall had blown by us. Right away, the canoe started taking on water over the gunwales. There were 4 of us in it now, and the weight of the overturned canoe was dragging us down. We decided to let the boat go, as I did not want to end up in there again. I told him it's freezing. My old man was going to be pissed. Once we let go of it, we regained our buoyancy and water stopped coming in, and we quickly picked up speed. I was glad to paddle, as I thought it would help me warm up and get my blood flowing. Bracken just lay there, curled up and shivering violently. When we arrived at the far shore, there was an OPP officer and a couple of locals. We were taken to the local's house, undressed, put to bed together, as if 2 frozen guys could warm each other up. At that point, I started shivering and shaking violently. I literally was blue. They brought us hot rum and told us to drink it. The cop came back to ask us some questions. We wondered how he had been there to greet us. He explained that we had been spotted by a plane that was patrolling the lake. A rescue boat had been sent out of Belleville to pick us up. He asked us if we were wearing life jackets. I told him we were just kneeling on them, but used the canoe to lay on once we flipped. I asked why did he ask that. He said last weekend a similar incident happened and 2 guys went in the water and died in about 20 minutes. Their bodies were found easily because they were wearing their jackets. Otherwise, he said, you would have sunk to the bottom and we wouldn't have found you. He told us they died of hypothermia. I had never heard of it. My mind went back to that surreal moment, and I realized we probably were dying. It was somewhat sobering to realize. Then the good news came. The rescue boat had towed the canoe back to Belleville so we could pick it up on the way home. The old man would be none the wiser, just had to replace the paddle.
No, I don't mean that. Did you bring something?
No, I don't think I'm brave enough.
Oh, well, think about it. It's not so brave, or something. And we have these Fred Astaire stairs. You get to walk up here, which makes everything worthwhile. They're back. I like the idea of that. Just why not make the book the whole, however many times you nearly died, and then however long it is. That's perfect. Those are good stories. What would the title be? There you go. Mr. Thorne, good to see you back. Did you go and visit Andrew and Rachel again too?
They were kind to me.
Well, that's good. You're just like Keen. You're a new acolyte. That's good. Come on up.
Okay.
Use the Fred Astaire stairs if you.
With a limp.
Oh, I see.
I got a hitch in my get along.
Can you get along? Yes.
Wow.
That is
Hollywood
impressive,
stairs.
eh?
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Very. Is the mic too high or am I too short or not sure?
You wouldn't make jokes about your height.
Or lack of? There we go. You wouldn't refer to me as Shorty? No? Okay. Happy Halloween. Let's see. I'm going to read this book, Runaway Dreams by Richard Wagonese to you. So I hope you're patient because there's 129 pages.
Whoa.
Maybe I'll knock it back. Yeah, a little bit of panic there. Maybe I'll knock it back to a poem.
Okay, I'm setting the clock.
Okay, fair enough. Today, as I was telling Rachel and Andrew, I went up to VIU in Nanaimo and did a presentation entitled The I Word, I for Indian, the North American version, in the Aboriginal literature class, second year class. And I was nervous because I'd hoped they would like my costume because I went as a authentic, real, live, actual Indian, legal Indian, dressed exactly like this. And they seemed to like it. Now, the poem that I'd like to read to you, I'd mentioned this before, I was intrigued when I learned of the context applied to the poem that I learned. And I shared it with Andrew and Bill, actually, before I bought the book. I ordered the book in. And the context is that the author, Richard Wagmanis, I saw him do a presentation at VIU Cowichan campus a couple years ago. And then he was hired and he was to begin working at VIU this September. But he unfortunately returned to his demon being the bottle. And he died last summer, prior to September, of liver failure. Now, I'm just looking for the page for the book, for the poem that I was going to read to you. So maybe, Bill, you could tell a joke while I look for it or something here. Okay. Just a sec. I'm sorry, I didn't look it up. I just got the book back from Andrew, so it's his fault. He may have had mark for me, and if I pulled the marker out. It was called Grandfather Passing. Was it page 52 or 3 or something? That must be called something else. I'm not seeing it. Sorry about the, Grandfather Talking, White Dam. That's what it is. Good, got it. So the contest that intrigued me was that I was doing some work for the school district, and the lady, Rosanna Jackson, who is a Ojibwe from the nation back in Ontario, she met the author, Richard Wagmanis, and he had been in foster home after foster home, and then in his later years, not towards the end of his life, but in his late 20s, he went looking for his family, as an adult kind of thing, and he never found his father. His father had passed, but he found his grandfather. But his grandfather was unfortunately on his deathbed. He ended up having, when he met him, about a week and a half to live. He lived about another week and a half. And he spoke only Ojibwe, and Richard spoke purely English. And so he finally found his grandfather, and he couldn't communicate with him. But his grandfather's roommate in the hospital, in the other bed, spoke fluent Ojibwe and English. So his roommate in the bed interpreted all the stories that his grandfather told. And so 3 of them are captured in this book as poems. And so I found that quite intriguing, bought the book, and the one particular poem, I think lived up to the billing. I really like it. And to be honest, I haven't read the other 2 yet, so we'll see what happens with them. Grandfather Talking, White Dog Dam is the title. Them they didn't know how much they come to hurt us with that dam. Never seen how it could be. They just come and built their concrete wall and stopped that water, pushed it back into a lake where Creator never intended no lake to be. And them, they never knew it was our blood, our life. It was just a river to them, just a thing they could use. And they watched as the land got swallowed up by it. All the trees, all the rocks that marked the end of one family's trap line from another. And the teaching stones where our grandfather painted visions and prayer songs there. All drowned and covered up from our view, so that a part of us was drowned forever too. But them, they never seen that. All them sacred places got washed away. Not the big ceremonial places, I mean. I mean them places where the hearts of our people came to live forever. The bend above the rapids where I stretched my nets when I was young, and where I kissed your Gokum that first time. Oh, that was a good one, that one. So good, my boy. I felt that river inside me then. Deep and cool it was. And me, I felt like I was never going to be thirsty no more on account of that kiss and that bend in the river there. That's the kind of places they let sink away. Spirit places, I mean to say, where our spirits come alive. Each of us, all of us, where we learn to live. Them, they never seen that. All they seen was that dam then. The push of the river against them big wheels inside, bringing out what they call the hydro. But the word they use for it is power. And them, they couldn't see that. That was what they drowned. That's the poem.
Oh, that's very good.
Looking forward to the next poem you read from me.
Oh, all right, I'll find one.
What about the speech today? Can we get that on the internet, on tape? That would be-
There is a audio file
Is
on
there?
it, yeah, that they share with satellite classes. And I told them it would be a test, but hopefully it will be a test.
I'm sure it was interesting. I bet you engaged them well. Provoked them. Did you say that other provocative word? What was it?
Well, I
The-
referred to, we started off the conversation, we wanted to be a conversation, so it
Mm.
became that.
Right.
And I used other prominent examples like the F and N word.
Right. To parallel it.
They were familiar with the F and the N word.
Right.
And we brought up the I word. They hadn't really considered that, but then towards the end, there was a lot of F words flying around.
French. Yeah, that's a real
Yeah,
curse
French
word. Yeah.
and fire truck, yeah.
Poor Andrew. It's his Suriname. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
He would have had his ears
Those
scorched.
damn French.
Yeah.
They're not talking about you apparently. No, what was the one from your the university course description that you never got to? That means hate, ignorance.
Oh, yeah,
What's that
yeah.
great word?
When I took master's degree at Royal Roads in conflict analysis, and the glossy brochure that attracted me had the word, oh darn, what is it again?
Yeah, I know.
It's about fear of others, of
Right.
being different.
Mhm.
Pardon me?
Xenophobia. Yeah, there you go. That's a great word.
Yeah, and so I told Bill over a cup of coffee or a glass of something maybe one day, I mentioned that on the last day they asked, is there anything else that we didn't cover? And I said, well, the pamphlet mentioned xenophobia. Are we going to talk about that? And I was no. So we had coffee.
We choose to remain ignorantly fearful
Yeah.
and prejudiced. Well, that's great that you got to talk to them. I really sincerely would love to hear that because you're a good speaker and you engage people well. Way to go. Hopefully they'll let you do more of that. Like high schools too, right? Should get you in the high schools. Whew. Normie's on the loose. Ms. Benty has been writing. Mahalia?
Have I really?
I think you have.
Hello. I write on Instagram and then I write it in here. So I was doing that today. I feel my potential. I see the sinews of the molecules of my energies. I'm a delicate flowering force. I feel everything at once. I walked into that room and I felt the vulnerability of embarrassment. It was real and I welcomed it. I am a presence, a boisterous, searching, sensual, emotional person. I am here hearing deep unconscious insecurity that I've carried since I formed my first pubescent thought. There are expectations in every corner. I want not to wait for the dear, warm moments. I want them all floating in a mason jar ready to drink up. Take my honesty like a heaping teaspoon of rich, threateningly sticky, raw honey. Too much time on Alderley Street. My folks, I'm going mad. Miscellaneous mundanity, obsessive placement of objects, muffled passions for PBS broadcasts, tense sessions with Eckhart Tolle. Love, reverence, the evolution of youth is a force to be reckoned with. Theirs have subsided, mine surpasses and knocks me over like an orgasmic aneurysm. There I go speaking every detail of my overflowing heart and mind, how I want to gulp at the sound of my feeble declarations, what I actually have yet to discover in the fragments of entirety. To wake up with an unprecedented energy more pressing than the coffee grinder. Most days the head aches, the body stumbles to the counter. Almost blind with the cloud of sleep, the beans hit the metal with an obnoxious mocking ting, 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 ting. The grinder itself, in its own muffled way, replicates and emotes the way I felt when I didn't live alone. Dreading and hopelessly anticipating the sound of my grandma's perky voice, asking the first annoying question of the day. The groggy shrillness of a voice breaking a much-needed spiritual silence. The days I would break down in fits of rage, how much I worked to put those behind me. A sensitive spirit combined with my body's undeniable strength. I never want to be angry again, never do I want to be in another tense situation that curdles my blood and makes me feel like an overripe pimple. In search for stillness and expression, I want to have a voice that doesn't contribute to collective human insanity. And I'll read you one more, written by someone else. After identity, the after party, revisiting old miracles like old friends, entertaining former selves around a table of thought, made beautiful by tea and porcelain and time, dancing with my 20s and laughing with my last year spent alone, and when the evening comes for my nostalgia, I place no shame on my sadness. The bittersweet remains of the day I walk each love to the door and kiss each identity and incarnation of me, gathering their belongings that no longer belong to me, and send them all on their way. There is such a peace in the aftermath of longing. There is comfort in knowing that one day they may decide to stay, but tonight I'm better off for the knowing that I am perfect in who I am today.
I don't think we'd get a concession if we wanted one. I'm not sure. Is everybody okay to just keep going? Yeah? You're all right? All right, then. Chris, you've been here before, and maybe you could remind us of your surname. And I know that you work on, you're a sailor too, aren't you? Yeah. Do I remember that right? Yeah. Right on. Well, come on up and share with us. Yeah, Fred Astaire.
Okay. Yeah, my surname is easy to remember. It's Banner. It's rather like the flag, right? We all get that. Okay, I'm going to read you an excerpt from a short story that I've put together for the CBC short story competition. Now, I haven't put a story in there for some years, but I do remember when I first started doing this for the CBC and sending in stories, the limit was 5,000 words. Then it went to 3,000 words. Then it went to 2,500 words. This year it's down to 1,800 words. It's very hard to tell a story in 1,800 words. If I want to be cynical, I wonder if Alice Munro ever had to write to a limit. But anyway. So this is just a tiny excerpt, and there are a few little facts I'm going to tell you about. First, one of the names that comes up in here is Nomad. Nomad is a Percheron mare. Percherons were bred in France as Knights Chargers, and they have a strong Arab strain. That probably has something to do with the fact that the French were on crusades a lot in the Middle Ages, and so there was crossbreeding between the Percheron, or the heavy horses that the Knights had, and the Arabs. And there's also another name in here, it's called Mercedes, and that's a girl's Spanish name. So this is a small part of this. I shared my love for horses with Mercedes. She lived nearby and often helped with Nomad. After she'd pestered me for weeks, I finally let her ride. She saddled Nomad, and I demonstrated how to use her arm as a guide for stirrup length. I double-checked the girth strap as Nomad bloated when cinched, relaxing later, and I always gained a notch by waiting. Mercedes emerged from the barn looking like a toddler leading a pony. She let me boost her into the saddle, for despite the stirrups, she was still too small. She settled, gripping her legs and controlling direction and pressuring the bit to rein Nomad in. She had soft hands, and the connection between horse and rider gelled. She'd fizzed like champagne while getting Nomad ready, but once astride this calm mountain of muscle, her confidence grew. The grass needed haying, and clouds sailed across the sky while the breeze ruffled the long grass. Mercedes caught the wind's spirit and jogged to the field's far side. The trees bowed, fluttering their leaves in applause. After she turned on the ridge, Nomad started cantering. Mercedes spurred through the ocean of waving grass, unleashing a triumphant shout on the wind. Nomad's hooves pounded the earth, and, as they crested the rise, she snorted, her leather creaking and her harness jingling. "I love this. I'll never come off," Mercedes squealed. "Be careful," I said. "Nomad gets spooked by gusty winds." "Don't worry, we do fine. We know each other." Nomad flicked her tail and cantered away into the distance. They fused. The pealing rhythm of horses told me they were cantering, and then the peals quickened. Nomad, galloping like a destroyer, streamed Mercedes' long hair behind. They sped across the grass, racing the wind. Nomad's hooves boomed, and I feared for their safety. Turning, they surged into the valley with Nomad's thundering hooves creating a wall of sound, silencing the wind. Topping the slope, Nomad's hooves thumped slower, and the wind resumed. Amid creaking leather, jangling harness, and pounding hooves, Nomad halted. There was a final thump as an orbiting clod fell to earth. Mercedes jumped off, a cork bursting from champagne. "Oh, I didn't expect that." Wind-sown tears flecked her face, and the wind had tangled her hair. Her eyes were dramatically large, and her smile wider than the meadow. "It was so good. Can I ride Nomad again?" "Any time," I said, "but you could injure yourself, so don't gallop her without me." Stroking Nomad's sweaty shoulder, she replied, "She's powerful but would not hurt me. I did not know she would be like this, her muscles flexing between my legs, her breath blowing like a dragon. Paul, she is wonderful." Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, Chris. Very much. Katerina? I do not know your last name. Come.
Hey, Bill.
Yes?
So to share, towards the end of your story there, Chris, I was thinking CBC and I'm admiring listening to your voice. So I kind of closed my eyes to listen, and it's nothing against your image, but it was better yet. You have a good voice.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
CBC tried to get me at 1.2
Yeah,
being an announcer and because they like my voice.
yeah, you have a good voice.
And you said no?
I said no.
Really? Wow.
That wasn't a face for radio joke.
Well, and you inspired Katerina to come out and read because of a link. Come on up, Katerina. And maybe tell us your last name.
Really? We do last names?
Oh, you don't have to. You could be somewhat anonymous, semi-anonymous. Just get comfortable and make sure this is kind of directed towards your mouth.
Okay. I have a short poem that somebody gave to me years ago, and I wasn't sure if I would be brave enough to read it. But after your story, it kind of fits. So this was written by Richard Burks. He lived here in the valley in Westholme, and he's not with us anymore. And it's called Of Horse and Rider. What if the heart was a horse? What if the heart was a horse, and the head was its rider? Where of the horse with no rider in place? And what of the rider not astride of his horse? Then there is this to consider of rider and horse. Not much of a ride over jumps round a paddock, nor a hell-bent ride with no hand on the rein. But bold be the horse, and the rider be keen. Ah, the ride of these two will be fit to be seen. That's by Richard Burks. Thank you.
Thank you for being brave.
Yeah. Thank you for the horse.
It's not so bad once you've done it, and the faces are pretty indistinct, so you can't tell if they're, you just imagine they're smiling.
Tell if they were listening or not.
Well, we know they're keen. Mr. French, you have. I'm sorry for jokingly maligning your. Well, it's not yours really; it's a surname. Do you have any French in you? Not. No. You look like you should. You've got that swarthy, part Quebecois kind of look. What's on the mustache?
You should say we.
We. Here, let's pass on the Fred Astaire. Let's see how that works.
I didn't bring any spooky ones today. The closest that I have, I think I read part of this one before, and then I've done some work on it. So it's kind of like my Frankenstein piece. So ooh. But yeah. So getting yourself together is kind of a drag. But one of these fine days you'll feel better. And from then on in, you're a lean field cat, and you're a fighting rooster, and you're taking all comers, and you're entertaining the possibilities, and you walk a steady line. A well-positioned weed, you'll debunk ideas of beauty with strategy and strength, and you'll have laurel leaves and a full tank of gas, an endless reservoir of grit, and a side street escape out of Devil's Town. Now I'm telling you, man, one day you'll wring the venom and you'll toast the fang, and you'll be Achilles from the heel up, and you'll stack a shaky hand with regal and familiar faces. And all your anxieties will have gone to seed, and you'll shake hands with the beast, and you'll greet the reflection, the grand pubescence that lasted well into your 30s. and your reputation will be that of a tender white lamb with a wicked right kick. I'm telling you, man, one of these days you'll be a lean field cat, a top-ranking rooster. Though not today, which is probably why we're able to wax so poetic about it all. So in September, I started school. So I thought I was going to be able to quit my job, but it turns out I wasn't able to. So I wrote this at the beginning of September. So this is my farewell. I kind of like it for that, but it's sort of ironic that I'm still doing it. So it's called The Fall. On the 1st of September, I did a shit job on Piedmont Avenue. I removed my last anchor and shimmied down the valley without a rope. I loaded the ladder onto the van, exchanged quips with my laborer, and said goodbye to all this sketchiness. With a shit job to tail end my legacy as a moss removal technician, I got to town early, then waited in line to cash my last paycheck. And everyone I meet today will see me in a celebratory air, with my shabby clothes, worn Velcro shoes, and laurel leaves. And I haven't taken a fall, and I haven't bruised my muscles much too much. And save melanoma, tension at home, and the barren bank account, I worked my way to the other side. I learnt the delicate art of machismo, sublimated anxiety into a hearty laugh, and clean gutters over real edges. And from here on in, I'll only return to the roof as a guest star. A stubbled-faced legend who could have made it big, if only he could keep his chronic thinking under control. So I'm trying to transition into mental health. And I do peer counseling. So that's kind of about that, but I'm sort of working on my counseling tricks. So one of them is, if you're having a really bad problem and you go to a counselor, they'll be like, but what if you didn't have this problem? And then you're supposed to be like, oh. Yeah. So, yeah. It's called No One Is Off the Hook, We Just Dangle Different. The dishes are by the sink, dirtied by the rinds and remnants of delicious things from the night before. And the sheets are twisted by love and sleep, the curious cartography of bodies enthralled and at rest. And the alarm clock calls you to arms, and you raise and start your day. The weekend morning hollers, and you hasten to ready yourself, with coffee grinds left in the cup and sleep caked in the left corner of your eye, with an unmade bed and a living room left all a mess. This morning you fixed your hair and prepared yourself in the mirror to go off and serve the common good. You left to sympathize with the angry and empower the coping orphans of our Father, with careful listening skills and occasional interruptions, with kindness, holistic living, and paradigms of well-being, with your breathing exercises, miracle questions, and warm light mantras. And while all you spent is still owed and the bed is still unmade, still you sit somewhere else, with your chin propped in your palm, listening intently and casually contemplating someone else's recovery. And this is the last one. So God bless this animated racket, the sophisticated hive, live voices and utensils, each jockeying for the least intrusive potluck position. While breath becomes visible outside, God bless the body warmth of this place. But also thank Christ for my reliance on cigarettes, the quiet moment where alone I could go out in the cold and wonder if it's about that time to leave. And the harvest table is stacked with positive stoles and styrofoam plates, and the playlist is carefully selected, And whether in malice or jest, if one guest decided to size up another, they'd be quick to surmise that they're relatively the same size. So everyone just discusses how they spent their summer, how they accumulate their rent, and how in these nervous times they've saved what was left of their better mind. Gauguin and IPAs and the intrinsic pitfalls of existing strange. A few tips of nourishment, laughter, collaborated plans for the future, and a brief walk through the gallery space. While, with my failing young lungs, I thank Christ for tobacco and the time it allows. A brief promenade in the compromised air of outside, where I could take a moment and ask my overworked love if it's about that time to get going. It's like anxiety. Poems about anxiety. All right.
Well, I especially appreciated the work one, Andrew. I had my own nightmare, of course. After leaving towing and saying I'll never go back, and then going back for 4 months, and but then it made me appreciate coming back to carpentry one more time. And if I ever have a bad day, I can say to myself, well, at least I'm not in the tow truck at 2 a.m. with the police. It's a good way to meet the police, though. You get more friendly with them. Gotta be on the good side for a change. So that's good. So you're actually a moss removal technician as well as a roofer. Good.
Moss removal.
What's that?
Primarily moss removal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And do you do that manually or with a air gun or scraping? Okay. Moss. Yeah. Well, the world of psychiatry awaits you and looks forward to your contributions. I know. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes for you. Andrew and I were sharing stories about working in that field. And you should hang out with Norm, actually, because he has a lot of good tricks. You talk about counseling tricks. Norm's got some good ones for disarming your opponent or your the person across the table from you, right, Norm? It's good loosening them up. I think he's nodding his head, isn't he? Some good tricks. Thinking about it. Famously, we have both Thorne brothers in the room at once, and Bob has read before. Did you bring some lyrics today, Bob? You want to read? No? I think, except for the other Bob, who will give the premier spot, and thanks to Bob Nation for showing up regularly this summer. The grueling 39 days of poetry. Oh, no, it was 5, or wasn't it? Tuesday at 4. But Bob was there. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Mr. Nation, Mr. Robert Nation. I could tell that Bob especially loved your poem, Norm. Have you told Norm that you've worked on a dictionary?
Sit up here like a wannabe Indian. I can see it. Yeah, the Hokuminum Dictionary. I wasn't going to mention that, but I did some work back in 2006-07, doing the English part of what they called the category dictionary that they were bringing out for Hokuminum language, which is sitting there on the shelf now and being used by teachers and so on. So that was a good experience and got to know some things. Got to know some people. That was the thing. So I got all excited about this little book of poetry, a poet I'd never heard of before, but I obviously wasn't listening. She's been working for quite a long time. She's Anishinaabe, I think, from Ontario, Bruce Peninsula, we call that area. And she sure can write. Years ago, Lenora Kishig threw a scare into the Canadian cultural establishment, defiantly calling upon it to stop stealing native stories. In the uproar that followed, publishers began to open doors for Canadian Indigenous writers. And since that time, her toughness of spirit has not diminished. But there's more to her than that. There's some very delicate stuff in here. It's a collection over quite a few years. And I just got all enthusiastic that I wanted to put this stuff out there. And here I am speaking for the native people, and I got two Cowichan people right here. I feel kind of wrong-footed. But the work is good, so maybe it'll carry. Near the beginning of the book, some childhood memories. Indians. When I was a kid back home, we kids used to play cowboys and Indians. We never wanted to be the Indians because they were the bad guys and lost. So we were all cowboys back home on the reservation. I grew up on the reserve thinking it was the most beautiful place in the world. I grew up thinking I'm never going to leave this place. I was a child who would lie under trees watching wind's rhythm sway leafy boughs back and forth, sweeping the clouds into great piles, rocking me as I snuggled in the grass like a bug basking in the sun. I grew up on the reserve thinking it was the most beautiful place in the world. I was a child who ran wild rhythms through the fields, the streams, the bush, eating berries, cupping cool water to my wild-stained mouth, and hiding in the treetops with my friends. We used to laugh at the teachers and tourists who called our bush forest or woods. Forest and woods were places in fairy tale text, were places where people, especially children, got lost and where wild beasts roamed. Our bush was where we played, where rabbits, squirrels, foxes, deer, and the bear lived. I grew up thinking I'm never going to leave this place. I grew up on the reserve thinking it was the most beautiful place in the world.
Sir, what part of Ontario was?
Sorry?
What part of Ontario?
Bruce Peninsula. Saugeen in the local language. So here's another deathbed, though different from that moving one of Norm's. Vigil. My grandma is in the hospital. Papa was always there in that house, long before I was ever conceived or thought of. To a small child, a grandparent must seem omnipresent and omnipotent, like God. My grandma is in the hospital. There are things I don't want to know about hospitals. Papa knew everything. People would come to visit him, ask for consultation or talk. I would watch them come and go. He had a small farm with just enough sheep to keep him busy. He knew everything there was to know about sheep. My grandma is dying. But resurrecting my childhood and Papa, tonight it seems only fitting that they should be together, if only in my mind. So I got to put a little more political stuff, if you like, in. So in this poem, it's hers. I have to read it as if I were native. And you guys were white people, and Bob and Norm can sit where they like. The poem's called "O Canada." Subtitle is Bear 8. And the first one I read tonight, I think, was Bear 1. There's sort of networks flowing between the poems. It's a lovely collection. It works as a whole. Anyway, O Canada, your provinces shout. O Canada, your country shouts. O Canada, your people shout. Our home and native land. Our home, your settled land. Closed eyes and righteous words have never made us disappear, nor protected you from the bad dream, your reality, your history, your lie. Listen, your provinces, your cities, shout out our names. Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Toronto, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Ottawa, Somana, Quamachin. Your country too, eh? Oh, Kanata. We have always walked on the edge of your dreams, stalked you as you made wild your way through this great land generation after generation. And oh, Canada, you have always been afraid of us, scared, because you know you can never live without us. And there's so much stuff in this book. I could read and read. Anyway, near the end, the poems get longer and they're kind of spread out over the page, and lots of nice connections in them and great references. One called The White Man's Burden, but long and not easy to read, but great stuff. And I'll just do fragments out of the last one, which is called Goodbye, Wild Indian. Goodbye, Wild Indian, goodbye. I know it's time for you to go. It's a good day, too, to go. I want you to know I always rooted for you, all those times. All those times when the cavalry and the cowboys were kicking your ass and shooting you with their silver bullets. All those times the history books were saying you were doomed to die, to vanish from the face of the earth. That meant Mom and Dad and me, too, my whole family, eh? And when you died, each time you died, up there on that silver screen, and in the paperbacks, and in the comics, and on the airwaves, little bits of me died too. Actually, they just went on reserve, waiting for this day. Yeah. Oh, you handsome breed, you raider, you killer, you scalper, you wagon burner, you red deflowerer of white man's women, you shooter of white man's turkeys, you poacher of white man-made fish, you speaker of red man's wisdom and white man's folly. Golly, you soothsayer, you smooth sayer, you perpetual fucking conservationist. Oh, they're out to get you now. They're all looking to bury you. Aye, as if 112 million dead over 500 years weren't enough already. "500 years of whooping it up is one hell of a party, eh? Goodbye, wild Indian. Rest in peace. I'll always love you." Yeah. So there's some fragments. The poet is Lenore Keeshing. She's also a naturalist, which is something else that's dear to my heart. She's a great person, Lenore Keeshing. This was from VIU, and I'm returning it tomorrow. It's called Running on the March Wind. Okay, thanks. One fun day I'm going to sprawl down here.
Robert, yeah, be careful.
There's my hook.
No handrail.
I noticed.
Thank you, sir. What? 112 million in how many years?
500 years.
Wow. Proud day to be a white guy. Jesus. 500 years. Well, the funny bit was when he said "wanna be Indian," I thought, because there's all those cultural expropriators and also the admirers of spirituality too, isn't it? Like the whole gamut of admiration to outright stealing. And there's me. I mean, I'm what do you say? A failed wasp. I don't, attach myself to the Christian stories, which I grew up with. So I have none. But luckily I'm a thespian, and I like music and poetry. Otherwise I'd be doing something else. Do the Hare Krishna still out there? Are they still out there? Well, no, the real ones. I'm just thinking if I didn't have my things, maybe that would be my thing. I don't know. It's hard to imagine, Normie. Oh. What? Yeah, really. Talk about living for the weekend. I go to Harry on the weekend. All right. Just a quick one, and then we'll say goodnight. Thank you for those wonderful contributions this evening. Appreciate you coming. And don't forget to visit Monsieur French and Madame Twizel. Do I say the name right? Oh, I say it wrong. Hey. How do you say it?
A little differently every time.
Okay. Actually, I forgot. Oh, I almost passed you right over. Rachel was going to do, in honor of International Women's Week, a miniature diatribe, I believe, on the importance of tattooing for the modern woman. Wasn't that what you were thinking of?
Did you just assume my gender?
Oh, right. God, you can't even guess at somebody's gender. That's right. International personage. International biped. Were you feeling it tonight? Did you want to come up and just off the cuff? No. We really want to hear what's going on, and like that's a total the transition for you in your art into the tattoo world. I'm fascinated, and just for you to sit here and bullshit on. No, next time really. Okay, we'll hold you to that. We'll never see her again now. I've scared her away. Don't forget to go and support Andrew and Rachel at the Café La Vie at the second Tuesday of the month, starting at 7. And they do a wonderful, intimate round circle, still, I imagine. And it's a lovely format because you're looking at people. But it's very comfortable, and it's a nice way to share as well. So we'd appreciate if you'd support both of us. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. I'll be all right. Oh. Well, no, I won't be all right, but that's part of the fun, isn't it? The country north of Belleville. Whoa, that's connected to John. Where were you?
Belleville, Bay of Quinte.
Bay of Quinte, which is...
Belleville's right on it, near Kingston.
Right.
Belleville.
And that's just where it opens out into the...
Well, the bay.
The
it's
bay.
A narrow bay that runs, there's like what we call the isthmus or something.
Yeah.
There's a point of land going out that
Right.
the bay, and then
Yeah.
you come out of that and into the giant lake.
That's why it's so dangerous. It just funnels those storms or whatever.
Now the point, what was the point called?
Bruce Peninsula.
Bruce Peninsula, yeah. I believe that's about a 12-hour walk east of the outskirts of Montreal, right?
No, you're thinking of Bruce Peninsula is Georgian Bay. Yeah. So that's more south and east, Tobermory.
Up north of Owen Sound.
Yes.
It's right on, it divides, it's like another isthmus. It divides the Georgian Bay from Lake Huron.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that is, but the point where you're talking about the...
No, that's where Bruce Peninsula is, though.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong.
Just different parts of Ontario. Yeah, he's closer to Ottawa, and Bob's over there by...
And I'm way over in Quebec.
You're out. Normie,
500 miles.
gather it in. Yeah, what's 500 miles? The country north of Belleville. Bushland, Scrubland, Cashel Township and Wollaston, Elsevier, McClure and Dungannon, green lands of West Lemcoon Lake, where a man might have some opinion of what beauty is and none deny him for miles. Yet this is the country of defeat, where Sisyphus rolls a big stone year after year up the ancient hills. Picnicking glaciers have left strewn with centuries' rubble, back-breaking days in the sun and the rain, when realization seeps slow in the mind, without grandeur or self-deception in noble struggle of being a fool. A country of quiescence and still distance, a lean land, not like the fat south with inches of black soil on earth's round belly, and where the farms are, it's as if a man struck both thumbs in the stony earth and pulled it apart to make room enough between the trees for a wife. And maybe some cows, and room for some of the more easily kept illusions, and where the farms have gone back to forest, are only soft outlines, shadowy differences. Old fences drift vaguely among the trees. A pile of moss-covered stones, gathered for some ghost purpose, has lost meaning under the meaningless sky. They are like cities underwater, and the undulating green waves of time are laid on them. This is the country of our defeat, and yet, during the fall plowing, a man might stop and stand in a brown valley of the furrows and shade his eyes to watch for the same red patch mixed with gold that appears on the same spot in the hills year after year, and grow old plowing a 10-acre field until the convolutions run parallel with his own brain. And this is a country where the young leave quickly, unwilling to know what their fathers know, or think the words their mothers do not say. Herschel, Monteagle, and Faraday, Lakeland, Rockland, and Hill Country, a little adjacent to where the world is, a little north of where the cities are, and sometime we may go back there, to the country of our defeat. Wollaston, Elsevier, and Dungannon, and Westlam Coon Lakeland, where the high townships of Cashel, McClure, and Marmora once were. But it's been a long time since, and we must inquire the way of strangers. If you ever go to try to find your way home. Where were you born, Bob?
Wimbledon.
Whoa, where they play tennis.
They do now, yeah.
They didn't then so
I guess
much?
they weren't playing that year. It was in the World War II, and
Oh,
met each other over there.
they suspended. Your parents met you over there?
Yeah.
They were Canadians?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So you're sort of part Canadian.
100%.
And now you... Gosh, I don't want to be English, I tell you that. Okay. Why? Oh, sorry. I don't know. Sorry, are you fully English?
Yes.
No offense. No offense. I don't know why I say that. I'm just being silly. I'm sure my heritage is wholly English too. So on that happy note, you got to end on a zinger, you know, end on a high note. Thank you all for coming once again, and don't forget to tell people that it's our 10th birthday next month, and come next month too, and bring your friends. What's happened to dear David? Is he back in school too? What's he doing? They moved to Souk with his lady? I guess he thinks that's too far to drive. Gosh, not to read poetry, it isn't. Well, yes, it is. You call him up, will you, and tell him it's the 10th birthday and he should come. Thanks again. We'll see you next month, and don't forget to support lots of shows in this wonderful showroom. And for you, really your first time here? Oh, no. Oh, okay. The readings, Yes, we've been going with John. We started in his original venue. And I had the ignominy, how do you say that word? Ignominy? Of being the last show in 2 of the venues. So for a while we wondered if it was a bad luck omen, but we don't believe in bad luck, so forget about it. And yes, we've been following him ever since. Next month will be 10 years. And it's just been like this the whole time, which is interesting. Yeah, thanks to all. Okay, good night. Yes, see you soon.